Is 102.3 WHIVL PFM in New Orleans. We are regional HIV with programming. That's right, programming dedicated to human rights and social justice. WHIVFM.org. We honor independent voices. We are not a radio station with a mission. No, we are a mission with a radio station and a microphone. Let me plug this bad boy in. Welcome to COVID Noise Filter, the daily hour-long show, although we do this now every other day. It is a pleasure to be here. My name is Dr. Mark Allen Dery, and thank you for tuning in either on WHIV, the Facebooks, or on YouTube. So we do now have our own YouTube channel, so please like and subscribe at NoiseFilter YouTube channel. Sitting along with me is my friend and yours, across the digital divide, right there is Doc Griggs. Say hello, Doc Griggs.
Hello, Doc Griggs.
It is a pleasure, as always, to see you. We missed the show on Monday because of the holiday, and it turns out that I have a meeting on Friday that I cannot get out of. So this week is going to be a short week for NoiseFilter, the daily hour-long show that's now broadcast every other day, but this week just one day. So Doc Griggs, how have you been? We missed you.
So I've been good, man. It's been a busy few days. I just got back from the Tulsa Greenwood Massacre commemoration 100-year anniversary. It was a very deep trip. It was a lot learned. Great people. Met some awesome people in Tulsa. Can't wait to go back. It was really it's a powerful weekend.
Doc Griggs, are there a couple things that you can share with us? Maybe I think that probably a lot of our listeners know about the massacre, or what they refer to as the race riots, which I don't understand why it has that name, the race riots. It didn't seem like it was race riot. It seemed like it was a very targeted attack onto the folks there in Greenwood. But maybe if you could give us a little historical perspective, that would be great.
So words matter, and there's language debate. Legally, just using the word riot is very different than if you say it was a massacre. For a riot, then it means that some of the victims participated, and it's harder to charge someone with a crime. If it's a massacre, as it was, predicated on a lie. There's a guy named Dick Rowland who was a shoeshine man. He was 17 years old. He was in an elevator. There's two different stories. He was in an elevator and he became unstable and tripped. And there was a white female working the elevator and grabbed her arm and she screamed. They falsely reported that there was a sexual assault that took place. And they had a mob come, a lynch mob. They took him and said they were going to lynch him. These African-American World War I vets said that they were going to protect him and go down and defend him. When they did so, the reaction from the mob, a mob came and started that was the impetus for the entire event. It was 48 city blocks. The city of Greenwood was African-American, self-sustaining. Black Wall Street was there. Not only was it one of the richest and most resourceful communities economically in the country, it was actually for the Black community, it was one of the most economy rich, resource rich areas in the country at the time. Since then, in the course of 18 hours, they burned everything to the ground, destroyed, and they looted. No one was ever charged for the crime. No apologies, really no admission, because even to this day, they're debating between the use of the language riot and massacre. This is a true travesty. It's an unknown travesty. I was not taught this in my history books, in my history classes. It's the same thing there. There's actually legislation that they're discussing about whether or not to include this in the curriculum of the students. Tulsa is a very powerful place. The city of Greenwood, from my understanding, was founded. It's linked to the Trail of Tears. Because as the Native Americans were moved from their land, get this part, they had to take their slaves with them. Yes, I said that correctly. The Native Americans had to take their slaves with them. And once they got there, unlike the fight from other communities. When the slaves were freed, as we'll be celebrating on June 19th, they let them be free. And that's how the community of Greenwood, Oklahoma started. Now, interestingly, there were no resources. They were given no resources to rebuild. They were given nothing, but they did. They rebuilt themselves. Then by the 50s, they were back up and thriving again, 50s and 60s, and then there was integration, and they stopped keeping their money and their resources in their community, and it diluted it out to other areas of the region, and they lost a lot of land. They had a highway built right through the middle of it, which is something similar to what we've seen and what you've heard with the debate here in New Orleans. We had a national press conference. I'm a member of the 100 Black Men National and International Health and Wellness Committee. We discussed how a public health racism is a public health issue. We discussed how everything is based on social determinants of health, much like here in New Orleans when they put the highway through the thriving Treme neighborhood. The life expectancy decreased to the point now that it's 55. Where my community center is in 70119, they had a decrease in life expectancy, and it's just a similar battle taking place right now. And it's interesting that all of this is going on 100 years to everything is 100 years. So, folks, when we're talking about the pandemic, I really want you to make comparisons. We had a pandemic at 100 years, and here we are dealing with the same issues that we've talked about. We said during the pandemic of 1918. We saw some of the exact same issues, not just mirrored, being repeated in this day and age. Hopefully, we'll get to a point where things can stabilize, and like they got past the pandemic, we can actually bring some of these issues, these civil unrest issues, along with us and resolve them as well.
Yeah, and thank you so much for that amazing summary, Eric. I was following the news throughout the weekend and thinking of you because I knew that you were there, and a couple, I think, salient points. One is, I got to thinking today, that people who come from the Black community, who are truly descendants of people from Africa, from slaves, have been in America and have many generations. I mean, the bones of your parents and grandparents and great-grandparents and great-great-grandparents are buried here in America. And if you look at a lot of people that look more like me, like I'm first-generation American, and I know a lot of first-generation Americans, and I know a lot of people who maybe have been here for 1 or 2 or 3 generations. And so I think that that there needs to be a significant amount of veneration for particularly the Black community, especially as we look back toward what happened in Tulsa 100 years ago, almost to the day. And in the book that I'm writing, when I talk about reparations, for me, reparations, and I'm the last person to comment on reparations, so let me be very clear about this, especially when we're talking about what I'm referring to as medical reparations. But to me, reparations means that there has to be full acknowledgement of this, full stop, and there needs to be a reversal of a lot of what white America has done to particularly Black America in terms of banking, in terms of finance, in terms of education, in terms of real estate, in terms of the fact that statistic that you quoted just this morning, that it's the likelihood of a Black boy growing up to become a NBA basketball player is the same statistic or the same likelihood for a Black boy to grow up and become a physician in America. And to me, reparations looks like full equality, full stop, and that is where we need to get to. And I think that fact that we're still having a discussion about riot and massacre is a shame. And I'm glad that you taught me that, because I've always thinking, why are we referring to it as a race riot? The Tulsa race riots. doesn't seem like a riot. It's like I'd refer to it as the massacre of Greenwood, because that's exactly what it was. And so that's the first thought, and the resilience of Black Americans in our country. And I just think that just needs to be venerated, because this country has developed tools that have particularly been designed to keep down Black Americans, and there has just been a continued resilience. And I hope that veneration for Black Americans and Brown Americans, and for all Americans. I mean, we're seeing an assault on trans people of trans experience, their rights all over the country, and just being able to play sports. And so, so again, thank you so much. And I also wanted to say it was really amazing to see that 170-year-old female. And I wish I knew her name off the top of my head right now. And I wish we could play her clip talking about, she's the oldest survivor of the Tulsa massacre, and I think she was 7 at the time. Yeah, she was 7 at the time.
Yep.
And her memory of it is quite intact. And then also, did you see? I think we talked about this when it came out. It was an 8 series, and it was about a superhero. And it opened up in the Tulsa massacres, and I forget the name of the show. It was about a Black female superhero. I think, was it the Night of
Regina King. It's on HBO Max. I'm just trying to remember. Yeah, I'm trying to give myself a memory.
The Night Watchman, or the Watchman, or
The Watchman.
It was so good.
The Watchman. Yeah, I need to watch it. I have not watched it yet.
Oh, Eric. Oh, dude.
Yeah. Yeah, you gave me something to do before.
It is must see TV, and it opens up and it circles around the plot circles around kind of what happened in Tulsa 100 years ago. And then lastly, I will say that I did appreciate that for the first time that there was a lot of attention that was paid upon Tulsa this weekend. Of course, the president being there. We talked about some very notable individuals that were there as well, including your meeting, your national meeting was held there as well. And so I feel like that more. And I was trying to remember when I first learned about it, and it couldn't have been more than, I think, 10 or 15 years ago was the first time I ever heard Black Wall Street and the massacre that occurred, and I, like you, was not taught about that.
That was the only time there was military deployment, an attack on the civilians on American soil. There were turpentine bombs dropped on the people. They have stairs to nowhere where there was formerly property, and there's just concrete stairs there now. But there's a lot there's so much good. There's a lot, because it's just, I'm still processing that whole thing. There's really, really, really good, strong people there in Tulsa.
Got it. And how are the other thing too? You talk about Tulsa being a powerful place and the people in Tulsa. I do want to remind everybody. Remember, it was about a year ago that the president tried to have a rally in Tulsa on Juneteenth.
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember that or not.
I absolutely remember it.
And how it was the K-poppers and the TikTokers that ended up saving the day.
Yep, I remember it. K-poppers and TikTokers.
The K-poppers and TikTokers who ended up saving the day, and who made it so that nobody showed up to or at least 60,000 people didn't show up for the event. So, were you on the news this morning?
No news. No Tuesday, Wednesday news. Thursday, tomorrow, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday.
Got it. All right. And please, if you guys are tuned in, please feel free to leave us comments. As you know, we love to hear your comments. Also, please like and share the stream so that more people know that we're out there. We do have a YouTube channel called NoiseFilter, and we are streaming live on our YouTube channel as well. And please like or hit the bell or whatever it is that needs to happen so that people can see that we are here. And just one last reminder for those that are here right now, we will not be broadcasting on Friday, as I did have a meeting planned that I wasn't able to get out of. So with that, Doc Griggs, shall we go ahead and get started?
Yes, that's absolutely.
All right, so let's start with some updates here. Lots of updates. We'll be talking about this. This will be our first and last story in the rundown. But the World Health Organization announced from now on, variants will be known by letters of the Greek alphabet. So we're going to be the UK variant, which we're not going to say anymore, or the variant that emerged out of UK, or B1351, will be known as Alpha. A B117 will be known as Alpha. B1351 will be known as Beta. P1 will be known as Gamma, and the variant that emerged out of India, who actually started all this, would be 1617.2, is now going to be named Delta. This was something
when you
that
say actually started all this, you mean started all of the need for new nomenclature, right?
That is what I was just about to get to that.
Yeah.
This was something that you and I have been talking about a lot, about trying to get away from referring to it as the UK variant or the South African. And I think you and I have done a really nice job by catching ourselves and saying the variant that emerged from, or what have you. And so apparently India was becoming very frustrated with people referring to it as the Indian variant. And I think that they actually reached out to the social media techs and asked them to start banning any tweets or posts that had something that said Indian variant in it. And so as a result of that, they were not. They finally did. The WHO did change the name of the variants. So moving forward, I think it'll be a hard transition, but I think it's a necessary one. And I wish that this was something they'd done long ago. Any thoughts, Eric? Or?
No, we're just learning all kinds of communication lessons, and from our rearview mirror, and that's just been the case throughout this entire thing. I mean, the messaging, how important words are. Words matter. We talked earlier about the use of the word riot versus the word massacre. Large implications, large legal implications, large social implications. The same thing applies here.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely, and I think that's important. I was actually just trying to do a test to see if we're having.
Don't think it's working.
Yeah, I don't know if our comments are actually working right now, but I'll do another test run and then we'll continue on with the news here. Yeah, I think that there's an issue if you are reaching out to us. For some reason, posts are not showing up right now. So, but let's continue on. So again, we'll talk more about that in a moment. New coronavirus cases leaped 73% in Washington, and 5 states had more cases in the last week than they did the week before. So all in all, cases are really falling pretty dramatically, and we'll certainly get to that in a second. We're seeing in Malaysia, some stocks fell as a result of a new lockdown, so they're concerned there as well. This was something really sad. Listen to this story, Eric. I thought you would take this one. You would find this one interesting. With the pandemic seemingly easy, some are taking stock of various tolls that it's taken. For instance, a study shows that as many as 43,000 children in the U.S. are estimated to have at least lost one parent by February. And that's a dramatic 20% increase in parental bereavement compared to a typical year. The study also found Black children had been hit the hardest. The compromised children, who represent 20% of those who lost a parent to the virus. I was commenting more upon the story itself, Eric, but I thought that was just a very tragic story.
Yeah, that's tough. I mean, that's the reality of the virus. But believe it or not, there are people out here that still think it's a hoax. Yeah. It's not a hoax to those kids. You know, it's not a hoax to any of us.
Yeah, it's super tragic. I'm very sorry to hear that. Let's see. That's right. So this I thought was an interesting story too. So some good decisions come from good data. Peru has more than doubled its official after government review that instantly makes it the country with the highest coronavirus-related deaths rate per capita, and just 3% of Latin America fully vaccinated. So Peru, we're going to see, is on fire right now, as is Argentina as well. In the UK, no deaths from COVID-19 for the first time since July 2020. So that's good news. The variant that first emerged in India, which now is referred to as Delta, is rapidly moving through the US. It makes up 7% of new cases, up from 1% at the start of May. Experts say that the Delta variant is 60% more transmissible. Health officials say Moderna and Pfizer vaccines fortunately can handle it as well. Travel in the EU is important for the sustainability of their economy. So Greece, Germany, and 5 other nations have introduced vaccination certification systems that will roll out July 1st. And these certificates will be issued to people who are fully vaccinated. So that's certainly good news. Incentives work only if you know what people want. West Virginia believes its people want guns. The state is giving newly vaccinated a chance to win not just money, but 5 custom hunting rifles and 5 custom shotguns. A poll conducted March 20th to the 19th found that 28% of West Virginians were unwilling to get vaccinated. I gotta ask you, what are your thoughts on that?
You got to give people what they want. I'd be curious to see how effective that is. I mean, down here it's crawfish shots, catfish plates, entertainment. We'll just see. That's a very interesting take on it. Could possibly be troubling, but we'll see. We got to get people vaccinated.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Like guns. Like, I can't believe I just read that story.
Well,
all right, let's go on to some more. So AstraZeneca now is going to be moving and producing the vaccine in a different factory. We've heard about previous issues. Listen to this. Facing July 4th vaccination deadlines, Biden touts a major campaign, including free childcare through big providers so that people can get vaccinated. He said he wanted 70% by July 4th, right?
Yep. You got a month.
Yeah. As U.S. starts to return to normal, some countries are having their worst outbreaks yet. So something to keep in mind. India cancels exams for over 1 million 12th graders. Anheuser-Busch to give away free beer when America hits its vaccination goal.
Whatever it takes, man.
Eric, what do you think about this story? I'm sure you saw it. A man in China is found to have H10N3 bird flu.
Yeah, so we knew that was coming. We knew that it's been looming for a while. I think last year it was the pigs we were worried about, and now it's the birds. So we'll have to keep our eye on it.
Can you imagine if an avian flu starts circulating?
Well, we've been saying that though. We've been saying that, and and here's another reason why we need to continue wearing a mask and washing our hands, and the same practices apply. I mean, it works. We just got to deal with it.
100% agree. 100% agree. All right. Let's see. Without humans around, Sri Lanka's zoo animals enjoy a pandemic baby boom. Oh, that's really sweet. How declining survive. All right, with mask. Here we go. With mask requirements lifted, some U.S. workers feel like sitting ducks. Man, I hope those people get vaccinated ASAP. Those are we've called them out a million times. That we think that there are heroes, and we absolutely appreciate those people who have put themselves out there like that.
Yeah.
Loyola University here in Louisiana, in New Orleans, joins Louisiana universities requiring COVID-19 vaccine for students. So this was a question that you and I were asked today on our segment on WBOK. Just what are your thoughts on that?
So they're within their rights to do so as a private institution, to encourage people to get vaccinated. I mean, we kind of said that. We knew that was coming as well. I mean, I don't want to get into our told you so's, but this is all you have to do, folks, is look at what's happening in other places, and you're going to have the same decisions to make because we're following the same patterns. We can either improve or we can repeat. So not really surprised with that.
I think it's a good thing, and I completely support it. Not that I think that they would actually be looking for my support, but I think it's a great idea. But on the other hand, Louisiana Attorney General says LSU requiring COVID-19 vaccination for enrollment, illegal. Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah,
Does that
different
surprise you?
state school.
Does that surprise you, Doc Griggs? Louisiana Attorney General Jeff Landry issued a letter to Louisiana State University saying it is illegal to require students to receive the COVID-19 in order to attend school. He explained that some people have sincere religious reasons for not taking the vaccine or vaccines in general. The letter comes down after LSU faculty members say they want vaccines to be mandatory for students. Yeah, I am shocked that they would say that. Those people that are vulnerable want the kids to have it. The LSU COVID-19 dashboard says that only about almost 8,000 students and 4,000 employees are vaccinated thus far. Liberated? I don't know what that word means. What is? I've never actually seen that. It must mean the religious.
I have no idea. I'm not. I have never seen that word before.
I've never seen that word before. I try to prep for these. I would have looked that up.
Yeah, I can't say I've seen that word.
Yeah,
I'm gonna look it up real quick.
Yeah, liberated. That many people. Oh no. That must be somebody who was talking. It's Landry elaborated. I bet you.
It's a typo. I was looking it up.
Major typo, man. Yeah, you see, look at it. Landry L elaborated.
Yeah, I got it.
Man,
yeah, that's a typo because I mean, the only thing that comes up is elaborated, and I'm like, I've never seen that word.
Yeah. That many people do not believe in taking those derived from aborted fetal cell lines, despite the Vatican saying it's okay to do so, or sold by companies that profit from the sale of vaccines and other products derived from abortion. My goodness, this obsession with abortions, like, I'm not.
Just don't even go down that rabbit hole because that's a whole show.
That's
whole show.
So, of course, we'll get into what's happened in the state house in a moment yesterday. But the city of New Orleans continues to tweet out informational tweets about where you can get vaccines here in the city of New Orleans. So if you do live in New Orleans and you are looking to get vaccinated, if you go to the Twitter page for the city, they have a huge site or lots of tweets about where you can get information. So Eric, I didn't know if you read this story or saw it. This was the story that I had talked about this morning on Grayland with Grayland's show. And I'll just quickly go over it. COVID vaccine misinformation runs rampant during Louisiana Senate hearing. I wish I could have been here for this. Out of more than 3 million doses administered, there have been 0 deaths to date connected to COVID-19 in Louisiana. But you would have known if you tuned in to the Senate Judiciary Committee meeting on Tuesday, with legislation barring vaccine discrimination up for debate. A string of speakers repeatedly cited a federal database, often misinterpreted by anti-vaccine activists, to argue that the life-saving jab had killed nearly 4 dozen residents. That's something to say 650,000 people or 610,000 people who've died from the virus, but that's okay. It was one of several misleading or flat-out false claims bandied by Tuesday's hearing, offering a peek into the myths and untruths that Louisiana public health officials are confronting as they attempt to convince nearly 2/3 of the state residents to get vaccine. So now they're talking about the vaccine adverse event reporting system. Have you been hearing about stories from this, Eric?
From VAERS? No. Well, yes, I've been seeing blips of it, but I really hadn't put anything to it.
Got it. So basically, people have been going to the website and people have been reporting deaths. But because it's not put in context, they have a disclaimer on the website that says reports alone cannot be used to determine if the vaccine caused or contributed to any adverse event or illness. So this is a classic example of how government is trying to be transparent. They're trying to show the data that they have, and then that data just gets co-opted and then completely misused. And so people are just seeing that these deaths are as a result of, the vaccine, when clearly it has not been.
Right.
And when you see here, that notification posted online, easily accessible to the public, along with all other health alerts. So I see news reports constantly about adverse effect or that adverse effect, but they're they're very, very rare, says Jay Luneau, Senator Jay Luneau, an Alexandria Democrat, eliciting groans from an audience. So it's just unbelievable. And it's just, this is why we started COVID NoiseFilter and NoiseFilter in general, was to help fight this misinformation and how easy they take this information and just completely co-opt it and then just turn it into something that's completely not true.
Yeah, but this is a community medicine deal. Community medicine is people, practice, and policy. So we've been on the ground in the community trying to battle it through all of our platforms, of course, including social media, but it's permeated into the policy room. And, we saw the danger of weaponizing misinformation in a policy room last year as we went through the pandemic. So the fact that this is being brought to light, I hope more people take notice that no one's exempt. Members of the policy and the people in the policy room are members of the community and can make those same misjudgments.
Yeah, it is a shame, and I think it's going to hurt people. And it's laws like that continue to, we're constantly seeing laws that the minority are subjecting onto the majority, and this is an example of minority. I would imagine that a majority of people, just like they want sensible gun laws, and background checks and gun safety or what have you, because without it puts us all at risk. I think we want the same thing with vaccines. We just want sensible laws, right? Like, if you don't want to take a vaccine, that's fine. But that if a business wants you to be vaccinated before going into their business, I think that business should not be discriminated against or told that they can't do that. They can't be preempted. If the convention center, or if the Superdome, or if Joe's Taco House down the street wants to have a vaccine mandatory policy, I don't think the fact that they need to be stopped from doing so. And again, this is also coming from the people who say that they want smaller government. But the laws that we seem to get passed now, it's just that this is not small government whatsoever. This is big government that are telling businesses what to do, just like we're seeing with big government telling transgender girls that they can't play sports, And so, of course, the hypocrisy knows no bounds, and it's frustrating. And then also when you look at it from a public health perspective, it's also very frustrating.
Yeah, but I want you to always remember that the words, it's language, right? So majority and minority are relative terms. You and I could be in the majority on a thought or an idea or an ideology, and then the two of us walk into a room of 100 people, and we're the only ones that think that. So we have to remember, I don't like politics, but you have to remember that we're in a state where a lot of what you would assume to be the minority of thinking is actually the majority on a lot of the things that make all the sense in the world to you or I sound like magic and tomfoolery. Yes, and I did say tomfoolery to a lot of different folks.
You did also say magic.
Yeah, I did actually. Yes. Right. So we just got to keep that in mind, and that's the whole purpose of civil discourse. I talk about the equation, the sender message receiver equation, the whole interaction. It's feedback, mutual feedback and mutual respect amongst both parties, and the open-mindedness enough to learn from both sides. Whether or not you agree at the end of the day is, it's kind of a moot point with some folks. You just want to make sure that people understand. And that's what got us into a big predicament last year. We were just trying to tell people to go in the house, and no one wanted to explain why. and would get upset when someone asked why, because they felt uncomfortable saying, I don't know. I don't have all the answers. I know it's just bad if you go out. This is what we know. This is what we don't know. Transparent, open dialogue. I understand where you're coming from. I understand why. You understand where and why. And we're good. Now let's go get a beer and we'll talk some more. But I mean, it's just they infuse the emotion into it and then they polarize it based on just oversimplification or mis or disinformation, and people end up getting hurt.
Yeah, I think it's a very good point. It's a sobering point, and I agree with you. Politics is I wish it wasn't part of what it is that we do, but unfortunately, healthcare is you know it is part of the politic, especially of today, and certainly public health is. But obviously, I 100% agree with everything that you say, and I do need a reminder. You're right. Some things that seem, like in the minority or in the majority, I would imagine a majority of people in Louisiana or in any state, maybe not any state, but that they would want to have the majority of people vaccinated. I mean,
I would hope, but that's based on the thought that everyone believes this is real. You still have people believe this whole thing is a hoax. They think it was a much ado about nothing. So vaccinations are more, or more of you're infringing upon my rights. And like we say all the time, it is absolutely your right not to get vaccinated. And all I can do is recommend what the science and the data shows. Now, it's up to you whether or not you want to participate. It's not, you can't just force someone and stick people in the arm. That's assault. You can't do that. If it's your right and you decide that you do not want to get vaccinated and you do not want to follow the prevailing requirements or laws, then you just understand that there are consequences that can be uncomfortable.
And these laws that they're trying to pass right now are trying to remove those consequences. And so what they're able to do is they're able to have their cake and eat it too. They're able to not get vaccinated, but then also they can go on a cruise ship if they want to. So where does one person's right end and another person's right start?
No, that's the point though. That's the point. Those consequences, the science consequences. I'm not talking about the debates and all the science consequences. Either you can injure someone else, or you yourself can be harmed. I mean, it's just people want to talk all this time, and all the talking they're doing. I'm like, all right, cool, but let's go. Come on, let's go over here. Let's get the shot. And if you're not going to get the shot, then I'm not going to debate. I'm not going to change your mind. I have every scientific article, debate. We can bring in the experts. We can do it. If you fundamentally say that's not what you want to do, then your regard for other, you really not as socially conscious as you might say, and you might not care, and that's your right not to.
Right, but again, I think that one person's rights end where another person's right starts, and finding out where that line is. Yeah. And so when somebody is unvaccinated or a group of unvaccinated people want to enter a restaurant, I think that that business should have the right to say no, vaccinated people only, because it does put their people at risk, and it does put us at risk that are eating there that are vaccinated. And so I think that it speaks to your point very, very well, Eric, in that you don't want to get vaccinated, fine. Is it assault if the government decides to vaccinate you and put a needle in your arm? Yes, I would agree with you on that. But there are consequences, and they are trying to make this a consequence-free experience. And that's where I think I disagree. And I think that this conversation helped kind of allowed me to kind of find that nuance. But I will say this, and I think it's important. I don't think that we should stop or give up on talking to people about being vaccinated, because I actually did talk to somebody who did not want to get vaccinated at the very beginning, but he changed his mind famously and ultimately went on TV and got vaccinated with me. So I do want to say that there is hope.
No, there's always hope. But there's people that get overly animated and they're just looking to start. And I don't know about your I just left a state where nobody was vaccinated, and I had to have this conversation all day, every day, to the point like, listen, we can agree not to agree on wearing my mask. I was vaccinated. Eventually, you can't beat science. Either you're going to see it, it's going to touch someone close enough to you. There's going to be enough things around you that you're not able to do. Not necessarily, and that's the thing. You got to think larger than just your region. There might be a trip. There might be a country. There might be a concert in another state. Somewhere, someone's going to draw a line that you can't. There's nothing you can do about it. And that's it. I'm not gonna. When you want to talk about the science, and when you want to do this and you want to do that, and then you start quoting these made up this data, this misinterpreted data, giving these anecdotal stories, and I'm like, okay, cool, well, let's go see them, or give me their name. I'd love to talk to them. And you can't. Right. I'm not going to waste my time. I'm just not wasting my time or energy. I'm going to keep educating. I'm going to keep giving you what I know. I'm going to acknowledge anything that you say is correct. I'm going to talk about human nature and how it's natural to feel uncomfortable, and it doesn't make any sense to do anything if you don't feel comfortable yet taking the vaccine. Then wait, but understand you're at risk until there's more data. And typically, what's happening is what I've seen in the field is that it's more emotional decisions based on person-to-person relationships. Like someone either got sick. Well, I know someone who lost their baby's dad, and then they lost their friend who tried to support them, and she was like, "Nope, I'm going to get it. I'm going to get it. It comes too close. Nothing is real until it knocks on your door. And if you wait long enough, if we stick around long enough, something will get your attention. If you sit around and you're not wearing your mask, you're not practicing public health behavior modification, you don't have the vaccine, and all of a sudden you pop up with the flu when none of us have had the flu. Like, I don't know anyone that's had the flu in the last year. And I know all the stats and the data, in spite of which is why I'm less concerned about this avian flu right now. My radar is not really up, because I know that the simple techniques of wearing a mask, washing our hands work. I know that we have messenger RNA technology that we can make a flu shot. And if it switches on us, we can switch that up too, like that. Like that, and be fully. Again, it's getting people to believe the science and understanding that we're not benefiting from it.
Yeah. Hey, Eric, it just occurred to me. I just had this really great thought. Whenever in the next couple of weeks, God, this will probably even last me 6 months. Whenever I feel kind of down or I feel kind of sad, I'm going to remember that you and I made history.
Yeah. It's huge. That's huge.
Seriously, think about it.
That's huge. That's pretty big.
We made history, man. You made history.
Well, I'm not. I mean, you're from North Africa, actually, but what he's referring to is the cartoon. It's one of the first times in history outside of, is it Dr. Hibbins from The Simpsons, who is an African American doctor, but it was voiced by a white actor. So our cartoon is the first time that you're seeing African American, and I do say this: Morocco is Africa. You are American.
First generation American.
Yeah, first generation, but still, doctors of African descent on a cartoon, actually on the cartoon, doing the voiceover, participating in the education, the animation. So it's big, but we just got to get the momentum and just educate people in non-confrontational ways, in way that they can see. And I think everyone saying the kids in the cartoon is a great way to do it.
Absolutely. Before we go and do the numbers, I wanted to say one thing to that, and I lost my train of thought about the cartoons. I forgot, but it is. Oh no. Aren't you glad that we did our own voiceovers? Can you imagine for
absolutely.
We were thinking about having actors do it. I'm so glad we decided not to do that.
Yeah, no.
Glad. I'm so glad we did our own voices.
It's just a different layer. It's another layer of work, but it's a different layer of authenticity and investment.
Yes.
Yeah, and I enjoy it. It's great.
Yeah, absolutely. Let me. I'm just skipping through some stories, and just the stories that I'm skipping through right now is just looking at kids and that there's now instant rapid tests that are becoming more and more accurate for younger and younger children. And that there's also those that are the most vulnerable amongst us in terms of, I think it was in terms of those that are immunocompromised, immobile, and incarcerated. We're seeing increases in vaccination rates for them. But real quickly, before we get to the numbers, let me just quickly go over a couple of really cool tweets here. It's time to fix the CDC, which has been a disaster all pandemic long. So this was a New York Post, not the greatest, but this was a physician from the American Academy of Cardiology, fellow of the American Academy of Cardiology. So it's time to fix the CDC. It has been a disaster, and we have talked about that as well. It pains me to say that, but that is the case. So vaccines can protect against many coronaviruses. So there is now, and we have talked about it many times, that there could be a pan-coronavirus vaccine, something that I think is important for us to continue to follow that story and look towards. Barbershop offers coronavirus shots in addition to cuts and shaves. Some see it as a national model. Why not go to where people already trust Black businesses, leaders? University of Maryland and Biden White House hope to recruit barbers to replicate. Doc Griggs, I know you do a lot of barbershop medicine and talk. What are your thoughts about that? I know you spend time in the barbershop.
So I think we need to do it everywhere. I think it's great. You have to go where you're celebrated, and then go where you're tolerated, and go where you're not wanted at all if you want truly to have everyone vaccinated. I think it's a great idea.
Good. All right, before we go to the numbers real quickly, one last story here. WHO changes alphabet soup on coronavirus variants. We had talked about that. We talked about what they were going to, but I like this table. You can see this table very nicely. Looking at 117 is alpha, 1351 is the beta, gamma is P1, epsilon is 1429, and iota is 1526. These are what are referred to as the variants that emerged from California. And then 1617 emerged from India, is now being referred to as Delta. Note that this is the most transmissible. And of course, what we are seeing is, the most ability for beta to evade the vaccine. But you can still see that in this column here, all vaccines are still effective. So that's certainly great news, and I thought this was a nice table. All right, we got 10 minutes. I used to do this part in like 30 minutes, so we've gotten this down to a science. Let me skip through all this. These are old slides as I get to this. All right, here we are. Eric, 172,175,076. Number of deaths globally, 3,696,027. New cases, 447,215. Number of deaths, 10,637. 7 people died per minute. You can see cases are clearly on the downswing. It's clearly happening. There was, I think when I presented on Friday, this was going up, Eric. I'm like, uh-oh, what is this? So it was good to see that cases are going down. And when we look at the world where cases are being driven, South America has the highest rate of new infections. Uruguay, Argentina, Colombia, and Paraguay are all in the top 10 per 100,000 residents. Peru said that its COVID death toll is almost 3 times as high. We talked about that. They changed the way that they're counting their death toll as well. And India reported an average of more than 4,000 deaths per day in late May. Wow, that's just stunning to look at. But the official, I think the 4th wave is officially done. That was carried by the alpha, beta, and I can't do it, dude. And was it? And it's got to be beta. What's the P1? Gamma?
Gamma
variants.
Alpha, beta,
right?
gamma, delta, yeah.
Alpha, beta, gamma variants. All right. Death rates are going down, but man, modestly, right? That's not, I would like to see that spike, that curve a lot tighter. Globally speaking, Look at that. The global south is really quite on fire. And you can see cases in Argentina and Uruguay are really, really, really some of the worst cases in the world. We've been following Sweden for a while. You can see Sweden has definitely gotten a lot better. It's on par with Norway right now. Sweden's really done a great job. Probably that's been as a result of vaccinations as well. But the rest of the world, cases are going down, as we did see in that epi curve as well. Interestingly enough, and I still can't wrap my head around this, is we're seeing amazing vaccination rates in Chile and Uruguay, but these are some of the countries with some of the worst cases of COVID. So I'm not really clear how to interpret that. But right now, more than almost 2 billion vaccine doses have been administered. And that's about 35.6 million doses a day. So the new number now is 2 billion doses. And too bad it's a 2-dose vaccine because with the mRNA vaccines, but still 2 billion, that's about what, 2 out of 7, is that roughly 20%? It says like 25%.
It's a little bit more than 20.
It's a little bit more than 20. So if we're looking at 7.6 billion people in the world, 2 billion we're getting there, This I thought was a really nice look at. This is the number of people who've been vaccinated, fully vaccinated for COVID-19. You can see the U.S. in dark green here has the most fully vaccinated people in the country. And so you can see these people are partially vaccinated here. So Hungary's been doing a really good job. Israel's almost vaccinated their entire country. Hungary, Serbia are some of the countries with the best vaccinations. And again, look at Uruguay again. But again, we're still seeing Uruguay still being really devastated for the pandemic right now. And then this is the number of doses, just the overall doses that have been given. And you can see between China and the United States, it's almost 1 billion doses right there. And you can see that we've given out about almost 300 million doses in a country with 330 million people.
Where's Israel?
Israel is not here. Oh, this is looking at gross number.
Oh, got it.
This is looking at, it's not percentage. Not percentage, it's not a rate, it's just the total absolute number. Look at this. This is just devastating. This keeps getting thinner and thinner. This is the percentage of vaccines that have been delivered, and you can see here. If you hear me talk about Africa a lot, it's largely because that's where I have a family and an emotional tie to Africa, and you can see here there's a very, very thin line, meaning that people in Africa have not been very, very well vaccinated. I was going to say, unfortunately, I don't really quite know how to say this. Morocco is the most vaccinated country in Africa right now, and I wish that, while that makes me happy because that's where my family's from, I wish that sense of ability to vaccinate people was more equitably distributed across the continent. Here in the U.S., let me check on my time here. We got 8 minutes. We're good to go. We have 34 million. Sorry. Oh, 34,141,364. We're at almost 611,000 deaths. Just tremendous. Look at the number of new cases, dude. 13,000, 12,976. I haven't seen it that low since we started doing this show, dude. I mean, that's 287.
Across the country. That's amazing.
Across the country, yeah. And here's a quick blow up of this. I mean, these are some of this. Look at these numbers that we're dealing with. I mean,
it's great.
It's almost like what we've seen in April. Cases are falling, deaths are falling, hospitalizations are falling, test positivity rate remains strong. And our case rates per 100,000 continue to fall as well. And it's just really stunning. And here again, it's just more of the same, of just really rapidly declining cases. It's something else. And, you know, I guess we had our fourth hump here, which is not unlike what it was like during the summer. But wow, I'm just really blown away by it. It's really something to see. But testing continues to go down as more and more people get vaccinated. Hospitalizations go down, deaths go down. Case numbers in the U.S. continue to plummet. About 23,000 new infections are being identified each day. Several states in the Midwest and Northeast have seen reports of new cases decline by more than 50% over the last 2 weeks, and half of all people in the U.S. have started the vaccination process. 40% are fully vaccinated. So that's really, really, really good news, and we certainly love seeing news like that as we continue on. In the U.S., almost 300 million, like I said, vaccines have been given for roughly an average of 1.1 million doses per day. Looking at Louisiana particularly, you can see that we are looking just like the states to the south of us and then to the north of us. Arkansas is right up here, right?
Yeah.
And so we're kind of stuck. 3.1 million doses, accounting for 34.4% of the population. You can see as vaccination rates go up, cases go down very nicely. And I think we've shown that graph. I've shown this graph multiple times before. There's nothing new with variants. Here's the current updated breakdown. We can see the variant now known as the alpha variant right here. It's just tremendous, making up the predominant number of circulating strains. Whatever the iota and epsilon strains are here, and then the gamma strains are located here. So we are seeing an increase of that gamma strain. It was hardly anything. We are seeing a decreasing in the strains, the epsilon and the iota as well. Looking, just take a moment to thank our sponsors from the University of New Mexico who make this show happen. In Louisiana, 471,663, with recovered about 430,000. Oh, sorry, with deaths about 10,592. This number can't be right that we added 978 cases. I don't think that that's the number, but that's what it says there. With 16,
No.
That can't be right, right? That's
after the day after
right.
Memorial Day. Yeah. Long weekend.
That's probably what that spike, that yellow spike, is right here.
Yeah.
Is that that's very likely to be an abnormality, especially when you're dealing with numbers that are here, and you could tell they hadn't given anything for a while.
Yeah.
Right. Tests falling, hospitalizations going down, deaths going down. 31% of the state fully vaccinated, 36% have gotten one. Looking at Louisiana, our per 100,000 number continues to drop. Infection rate drops, and again, we're about 36% are vaccinated. And in Orleans Parish remains roughly between 4.7 and 5.2. Infection rate is down at 0.86. Test positivity rate goes down, and we are very well vaccinated, with at least 50% of the city having at least received one dose of vaccine. So I think all in all, Eric, I think we're doing good. I think we could definitely do better, and we're down to like the last 10 seconds.
Yeah. So if you hadn't gotten your vaccine, get vaccinated. Be careful. Be cautious. Wear your mask if you're around unvaccinated people. Wash your hands. Yes, wash your hands.
And health is a human right. And sorry, we just got your question. We're running out of time. If you could just ask it. We're not going to be here on Friday. We'll be here following Monday. Thank you guys so much. We love you. Health is a human right. Get checked